Talking Reds with me, Craig Hannan. I've got Stu Wright with us. It's Champions League draw today. So excited for it. We've actually, basically off camera, just discussed the ins and outs, the possibilities, who we want, who we don't want.
Would have been pretty good content, really, wouldn't it? You know what I mean?
Well, she's basically just sat and listened while we talked about it at length, and then said, "Can we do the video now?" So we're going to do it for you here. So I've got Walshy's done he's done this for me today. He's went through it all. So the potential draws we can get. Pot 1. Who you want and who you not want out of this. So we've got Real Madrid, Barcelona, Atletico Madrid, Bayern Munich, Juventus, PSG, and Lokomotiv Moscow.
Well, the one straight away that I don't want, and this is mainly just because of the Premier League fixtures either side. I mean, for example, we've got like one of the Champions League games directly in between Chelsea and City. So I really don't want the lads having to go to Moscow, even though Lokomotiv Moscow are, on paper the weakest team in Pot 1. I think we should swerve them.
We don't want to go to Moscow anyway, do we?
It's not the most inviting place to go, is it?
Well, that's match day 2. So match day 2 has Chelsea away and then City at home after, which I think that's the one you're talking about. In terms of who you would want, I looked at Atletico Madrid, new stadium. I want to go to Madrid. You're not all for that.
I'd rather have Real Madrid than Atletico because I think that Simeone's style, I don't think it complements the way we want to play. And plus, I really want revenge on Real Madrid.
Yeah,
nice. And the opportunity to play them twice, the opportunity to get them to Anfield. I like that.
I even like I like the possibility of playing them at the Bernabeu as well. Yeah. I think we can get at them, and I think we're a better team than last year. We've made some brilliant signings. And I think that team will fully believe that they can go and batter that Real Madrid side, whether it's home or away. I think what I was talking to Walshy before, PSG I think looks the one in terms of I think we can get at them, I think we can beat them, and I'd like to go to Paris. I think Walshy's talked about I think it might have been me and Walshy just going to Paris.
See, I'm just concerned that you two are just prioritising getting your passport stamped in primary locations.
It's trying to balance it up about who's going to give us the best possibility of going through, isn't it? And B, the nice places we want to go. We don't want to go to Moscow. We quite like to go to Paris. If you think back to last year and who we got in the group stage, is like. We were so lucky. We had Seville, Maribor, and Moscow. And in terms of not harming our, this year we're going to be fighting on more fronts than just the Champions League. And I think the thing that we're lucky with when you look at the fixtures before and after each Champions League match day. So each week we've got a home fixture afterwards, and you can say we've got an away game before. So you can look at it both ways. But I think. We don't want to harm our league, our assault in the league, do we? Sue?
No, we don't. So I think it's getting a balance between a nice glamour tie and somewhere a bit nice that gives us, potential route through as well, and that doesn't harm our Premier League adventures as well. So I think, looking at that Pot 1, as I said, I'd be happy with Real Madrid. I think the first team I'd want out of Pot 1 is Bayern Munich. I think, they've got the glamour. I've not been to Munich. There's big names there, but I really fancy us against them. Definitely. I'd really fancy us against them.
I think Klopp would quite like to go to Bayern as well.
Yeah, I do.
You got that side of it. Pot 2, Borussia Dortmund, Porto, Shakhtar Donetsk, Benfica, Napoli, Roma. We played Roma and Porto. I don't think we want either of them really. Well, Porto I would take, but in terms of going somewhere new, I think Benfica's the one there. I think beatable. It'd be lovely to go to Lisbon, and Borussia Dortmund would be an interesting one because, I think we beat them as well. I think they won at the weekend convincingly, and they were looking quite good. But I think, we've done them before. Shakhtar's the one I don't want. I think.
That's it. There's no one in Pot 2 that you'd be overly worried about.
No,
we're capable of beating all of those, but it's more about, as you say, going somewhere nice, but also somewhere local. When we think about our Premier League fixtures that follow, so I agree with you. Benfica is the one for me. Napoli, I'd rather swerve. I just don't want to put the travelling fans through that.
Shakhtar, you don't want to be travelling.
Definitely not.
You don't want to be travelling there.
Definitely not.
Yeah, I think. Are we saying Benfica for that one?
Benfica.
Yeah. Pot 4, we got Victoria. Is it Pisen? Who knows?
Good effort.
Yeah. Let's go.
We'll go with that.
The first or the second attempt there. Bruges, Galatasaray, Young Boys, Inter Milan, Hoffenheim, AEK Athens, and Red Star Belgrade. Who are you looking at there?
It's got to be Bruges.
Oh yeah,
absolutely Bruges.
You can get the Eurostar, can't you?
Yeah. Local, you can go around, acting out scenes from Colin Farrell's movie as well, just how crap it is. I think they're a suitable club for us in size for pot 4. They've got a bit of history, but at the same time, we should be rolling them over.
Yeah, definitely. I think didn't Gibbo go to Bruges? Didn't he, to see Lord? Have I made that up? I think he did. I'm asking Walshy off camera here. I think he did. What's that? Sorry.
Breaking all kinds of fourth walls here, aren't we? There's just no rules today.
Yeah, it's our rules now. I think so. That would then be PSG. It would be Benfica, and it'd be Bruges. I think that's we can win that group. I think that's the thing. There's been loads of discussion around this idea that we might get like a sort of group of death because we're in the pot 3. We were in pot 3 last year. It worked out perfectly. I think when you actually look at the teams and you sort of I'm looking at every single team on that after last year and thinking we can beat them.
Well, every single team in pot 2 does not want us.
Exactly.
The only teams that I think it's group of death for are the ones in there who get us. Yeah. So I think we've got to be really, really confident looking at that lineup, thinking, we certainly pot 2 doesn't feel like any great shakes. Obviously, games against the pot 1 teams can go either way, but I don't think there's anyone in there that we should be overly fearful of. The one, as I said before, I just don't want is Atletico, just because of that stylistic issue between Klopp and Simeone. But I think we our exploits last year in Europe mean that I think we can go through with confidence against anyone, really. We can feel confident going through.
Definitely, I remember last year when we got so we finally got back into the Champions League and we get the draw, and it's excitement because they're all teams that we should beat, and we thought, right, that's our best chance of going through. But we also didn't really have the big glamour time in the group stage. And obviously, we ended up getting quite a few of them in the rounds after that. But we're definitely going to get, unless we somehow come out with Lokomotiv Moscow, Shakhtar, and Red Star, which is...
I like how you sweared Victoria Pitsen then as well.
I was about to say them. They were the best bet, and I'm not going to try and pronounce them. But unless we get incredibly lucky again, there's going to be a glamour tie. There could be 2 big glamour ties, which whatever way you look at it, whether it's the best chance of getting through or whether it's the excitement of playing those matches, and those matches are the reason why you want to be in the Champions League. You want to be pitting yourselves up against those teams, and the players will be doing that too. So I'm excited, and we'll see what happens. The Anfield Wrap will be doing a live reaction on YouTube. So we'll be doing lots more video content recently. So if you haven't seen that, get onto our YouTube channel.
What channel was that, Craig?
It was the Anfield Wrap YouTube channel. Robbo takes the piss out of how I say YouTube, and I don't understand how I say it any differently. Not you too. Thought you were a sure bet not to take the piss. So get on that. We'll also be doing a reaction podcast special as well. So that'll be sort of more at length. I think it's myself, Neil Atkinson, and Andy Heaton on that one as well. Get on that. That's on Saw Player. Next up, we're just going to have a little clip from our new preview show, which is also on our YouTube channel. So this is the preview for Leicester. I believe Stu was involved, and it'll be Robbo now.
What about you, Stu? What would you do? I mean, you saw Naby come off at the weekend. You saw Milner come off against Palace. But equally, you see Milner and Wijnaldum have great games there. Milner's running further than anyone else again. Wijnaldum hardly puts a pass wrong. Who'd you drop?
See, I don't think necessarily that the Klopp was wanting to drop anyone originally for this. I think he looked at this as a bank of 4 games before the internationals, and I think he was intent on trying to keep that team pretty much as it was. But I do think now, having looked at the last performance, I do think he will make changes now. I expect to see Henderson come in. I'll be amazed if Henderson doesn't come in, to be honest with you. I think he might give Milner a rest. Okay. And I'd be of a mind as well to perhaps give Klein a run out. That might not be the obvious shout, but I think you've also got to think that we've got a pool of lads here that they've got to keep motivated. They've got to make the whole squad feel part of it, haven't they? So I think, you know, what we need to look at this season, now we've got this bigger squad, is not en masse rotation game to game, but 1 to 2 positions game to game wouldn't be a bad thing.
Is Klein doing enough for you? We're going by memory a little bit here. He hasn't played that much recently, but is he doing enough for you going forward the way Klopp's playing currently? Because the fullbacks are doing a lot, aren't they?
Yeah, he's not. You know, I think there's a big drop off from an attacking sense from Trent to Klein, but I think defensively he's solid, and I think it's important that these lads do get games, because you never know when you're going to need them. And what we don't want to find ourselves is in a situation way into the season where there's only about a core of about 13 lads who've had regular games under the belt, yet a few injuries, and you're bringing lads in from the squad who are ring rusty. So I think it's important that, you know, every game or two you're making 1 or 2 changes around the squad, and therefore you're not causing a huge drop off in quality overall to the team performance.
So that was our preview show. It'll be out later today. Just keep an eye on all our social channels, or visit the YouTube channel and subscribe to that as well. Sadio Mane has been speaking to a South African outlet, Supersport. He's been talking about rejecting Man United, which I love these kind of things. I don't care whether it was a definitive reaction, whether it was the Fabinho thing where no one really knew whether he'd chosen not to sign him, whether they decided against him. I just like this kind of thing just to wind up United fans at a time when, well, we've got far too much to wind them up about, to be honest. But yeah, he's spoken to Supersport about rejecting United. He said, the wrong team wanted me, Manchester United. Well, and Sadio, that's exactly the kind of thing we want to hear. I spoke with Van Gaal, and they even made an offer, but for me it was not the right club. He said he also spoke to Klopp about wanting him at Dortmund. I met with him, but Salzburg were asking for 25 million. It was too expensive for a player in the Austrian league. You know, what a signing he's been. He's a funny one, because I remember at the time we were after Mario Götze, and that's all of the talk going into the summer from the journalists was that Mario Götze was the big name signing that Klopp wanted, and he was going to be the one that sort of, you know, propels us to the heights of the Champions League, and that didn't happen. And then out of that we signed Sadio Mane, and at the time it's easy to forget, because at the time there wasn't mass hysteria. We weren't going to town about it, were we really? It was sort of, yeah, he's hot and cold, he's got pace and we need pace, but it's another Southampton player. But like, how important is he now to this Liverpool side, Stu?
Yeah, and I think that shows the difference between a club that are just going after the big name, the sexy name from the past. You know, Götze had that history before he suffered his injuries. And a club that has total faith, and rightly so, in its scouting network. And we've certainly shown over the last few years that we've got that. And Mane, you're right, there was a fair bit of when we signed him, from many fans, but he's come in and just electrified the club, hasn't he? In that first season he had was phenomenal. His second season he's had to adjust in position, he's had to adjust mentally as well, because he's no longer the main man. Salah's come in and took that away from him, but that second half of last season he was so important. I remember this as well. I remember before we were interested in him, I remember Man United sniffing around him. And he was a player that he'd done well against us. He had
scored a hat-trick, didn't he?
That's right, yeah. And I remember United going in for him and it not happening. But what he says there, you know, he spoke to Van Gaal. Well, if there was ever anything that was going to kill the deal, it was speaking to Louis Van Gaal, wasn't it, really? I mean, you can imagine the difference in conversations, how that went, the meeting with Van Gaal and then meeting with Klopp. I mean, it's a bit of a no-brainer. So, yeah, God bless Louis Van Gaal.
Yeah, it's night and day, isn't it? I think this year he's probably even been driven on by the fact that he wasn't the main man last year, and that Salah is now, you know, Salah's propelled himself to this sort of elite status of maybe, well, the top 5 players in the world, you would say. And I'd imagine Sadio Mane, he's playing with him every day in training, looking at it and thinking, well, that can be me as well, because I'm an absolute belter. And I think that's important. It's important to have these little rivalries, because Sadio Mane's talked, I think it was to Copa 90 in an interview, where he said that, you know, they're friends, they got on well, and he said it's perfect playing with someone like Firmino and Salah, because it makes his life easier.
Yeah.
And so you want to have as many of those players on the side, but it'll also drive him on to, because you're not telling me there won't be a little bit of rivalry in that dressing room between who's going to score the most goals.
Definitely, and actually that's what I love most about Mane, because there's, for such, what seems like quite a quiet fella, make no mistake, there is a steeliness, isn't there? Yeah, there is a steeliness. He doesn't mess about. He can be a bit of an arc, and I also think that I think he sees himself differently now. I think he's carrying himself differently than he was 18 months ago. I think that last year's Champions League experience has led him to believe, do you know what, I can mix it with the best. I'm good enough. And there's been talk over the summer, hasn't it, about the Real Madrid links, which thankfully have gone away. And what we all really want now is for him to come to an agreement with the club and sign a new contract as soon as possible, don't we?
That should be an absolute priority. You think we've got Firmino and we've got Salah on long-term deals now. We need to get him on side, because you're right, when you think about the Champions League run, how many important goals he scored in that run. I'm almost certain he scored against every team he played against, or maybe all but one. Last year, he certainly scored in every round of the knockout stages. And also he's put down here probably the most underrated player in the league. I don't think that's far off. I think because of last year he has that kind of slow start in terms of I think he scored a few in the first few games, and then after that, obviously the sending off against Man City, the one where he should square against Everton seemed to affect him as well. And it was up until maybe late January, sort of February time last season where he really pushed on. But he scored a pile of goals, and that's the thing. And I just don't think. I think every other team in the Premier League would have him, but they wouldn't be. If Man City went and signed him tomorrow, would they be going absolute mad for him? I just don't know. And I think this season's a season. I think he's gonna score more than he did last year, and hopefully propels Liverpool to Premier League title and more honours.
Sounds alright.
Yeah, it does sound alright.
Love that.
Nice end to finish. So we've got some shows out today on Top Player. We've obviously got the reaction show from the Champions League draw. We've got the Friday show, which is a look ahead at the weekend, look ahead at all the Premier League games. And then we've got one of our specials, so it's what we call history from 05-06. It's the last part of that. In case you don't know what that is, it's basically a look back at seasons of the past. So I'm almost certain that's about a 7 or 8 parter, so you'll have about 7 or 8 episodes to get stuck into. That's the year of the Gerrard FA Cup final, so what an ending. And that's been today's Talking Reds.
Daisy's Talking Reds are now brought to you by Heritage, which is a bar and restaurant on Castle Street right here in the heart of Liverpool. So if you're in town for the game, or you live in Liverpool and you're looking for somewhere really good and new to eat, we could heartily recommend Heritage. Get down there, Alex and Antonia will look after you.
Hello, we're in Heritage Castle Street and we're open Tuesday to Sunday. So the different types of food you do at Heritage, you've got a mixture of Sicilian, Italian, Middle Eastern and English French cuisine. So drinks and offer here at Heritage, we've got our own coffee, which is blended by Crosby Coffee just down the road. We've got Love Lane Pale Ales, which is from Liverpool themselves, Turncoat Gin, which is also a Liverpool brand, and World Beers and a cocktail list done by myself.